Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean. Good evening, 5.8 G Tribe. It is Wednesday. If you're on Gael, it is Monday. Welcome to 5.8 G Alive. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus, which brings you 5.8 G Alive. And with me, as usual.
Hi, good evening and welcome. And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, the other co-creator of Connections 50 Plus. Terry-Ann, so we have a nice show today with a beautiful guest. Yeah.
And people, I'm back. Getting better. Still not back there. You see me in a different environment, but we live. So let's get into today's show. We are so
As mentioned, we have this special guest today. We have Maureen Joanne Bowen, who is a consultant psychologist, and I know you all are very familiar with this phase. Now, the last two sessions, we did talk about being comfortable in your own skin. So we continue in that discussion, and with Maureen, we're going to be discussing emotional well-being. Maureen, thanks so much for being with us on the show again, and spending some time with us chatting on emotional wellness. Maureen, my first question to you is, could you tell us a bit about you in your profession? When we talk emotional well-being, what we really talking about?
Right. Well, ladies, thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure to see both of you. From where we stand in psychology, and certainly where I stand at this age, I think we're talking about balance between mental, physical, spiritual, and social well-being and health. Yeah. Now, when you talk balance too, a lot of people think that everything has to be 50-50, but it's not like that. And the journey that we're on suggests that certain will require far more attention. What do I mean by that? I mean that if, for example, you have familial support and you're going through a grieving process, the amount of support that you will get or you will receive would be very different, or require would be very different from those persons who have a limited resource or no resource at all. So during those types of circumstances, people who find themselves in that quadrant would have to then look for support, look for assistance, either a counselor, a therapist, a priest, a pundit, an imam, or maybe a social group, or there are even sometimes where you will find that funeral homes provide that type of support for people who need and who, in fact, break the cycle of denial and say to them, I need the support. Because that's the other. Many of us know what we need, but we don't articulate. So because we think it's a sign of weakness. I want to say today that listening to us, I hope people recognize that reaching out is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. And that if there is a need, people cannot help you if you don't articulate in some form what that need is.
Yeah.
So I'm
Maureen, you started there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we started with the first one. I know when we go continue the conversation, you will get into the different aspects. But that first, what you started with there, which is about grieving, both yourself and Terry-Ann, I know going through that process right now. And Terry, and if you don't mind me bringing you in here, because this is really for you. I mean, having lost your mom 7 months ago, and then your brother a couple of weeks, I mean to say, it would have been very stressful. So could you just come in here to share your views or how you're feeling on it?
Maureen, you struck a chord, and I am happy that you've said what you said, that asking for help. And Jennifer, you know that I had to admit to myself, listen, stop. You've gotten to a stage where you cannot carry anything else. And I had to give myself space to grieve, to pause, to just relax. And we've postponed our forum to give me space. And Maureen, I did do an analysis to see my family was there, my sisters were there, my father was there, great friends were there, my colleague and friend Jennifer was there. But I felt like I was in a pressure vacuum and I had to leave it. So I escaped to my bestie of 50 years. So I am now at her home hanging out with another girlfriend and people looking at us because what have we been doing? You know, I forget what we did yesterday, but it's okay. I think that's part of the grief.
Part of the process.
Yeah.
Oh no, we went to this soiree, my God. Went to a social function, then we went to fittings at a designer boutique, and it may sound so frivolous, but I have been laughing for the last 3 days. I leave on Friday. I've been laughing for the last few days, and just this morning when we were sitting, we got up very early because 3 of us are all in the house, and we share because each of us is going through a different kind of stress. One is having professional stress. The other one has a business that they're facing theft and all kinds of stuff, and I have lost. And that social grouping where we don't factor in the family who is grieving with us, and therefore we can't, you know, and just being in a completely different environment helped so much because now I'm able to talk about my brother, talk about my mother, and not cry.
Right.
But there is so much relief. So, and Jennifer and Maureen, you know, we do not give ourselves permission to first say, I can't handle it. And secondly, to do something about it. And
Right.
thirdly, to decide to use your resources to heal yourself. So I absolutely know that right now I am in deep therapy, and the therapists are my 2 dear friends.
Yeah.
And it is something that I check myself into.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. And this is something that people need to start to identify with. You can't pour into an empty cup. You cannot pour, and I tell people this every day. A lot of us feel that, and I say it over the years that I've been a psychologist. For very early in my career and for a long time in my career, I felt like if I had a messiah complex, because my thing was to save the world. And it certainly was because of my familial issues. Because your childhood issues don't run and leave you. They grow with you as you grow. And a lot of us grow up, right? But in growing up, we also grow old. So it brings with it another set of attending problems. So by the time age and reason come together, we're deceased, right? So no, it's a fact. So that for a lot of that recognition of the fact that I have needs to, and it's okay for me to say no. That was something that I never was able to do. Anybody call on me, I felt I had to be at attention, right? But if you're talking about mental wellness and mental health, which is what you are now experiencing, expressing, and even receiving, because you are not only receiving, you are also pouring into these persons who have been a part of your life for a very long time, because a lot of us too, we have acquaintances, but we don't build relationships. And that's the thing, you surround yourself with a lot of noise. But when you're talking substance, you're lost. You don't know where to turn, because people have learned to turn to you over the years. And somehow you always seem to have the right thing to say, the right type of support to guide them to. But sometimes God's put you in a place where you have to sit and be quiet and know that He's the source. And that, look, it's time to take care of yourself, because you're in the waving gallery. And ultimately, you're going to have to make some decisions about the quality of your life. Insightful as well, Terry-Ann, in what you're saying is the fact that as you pour into your cup, your job is not over. Every day that we get up, we have a purpose and a reason for being here, right? And therefore, what you are doing is restoration. So that when you get back to your family and your support network, you people are going to look at you and say, wow, you're empowered, you're driven.
She's so strong. She's so...
But in fact, and in fact, the lesson for you, however, is that you don't drain that, taking care of everybody. So in other words, that thing about giving a man a fish is now no longer part of your script, because we all write our own script. But your script now is to teach a man how to fish. And as such, you are now going to be in a position where you can say, and I say it now at 7 o'clock, I turn my phone off. Whoever, there's always someone else. But I need to have that time for me, and I have made that decision for me. And other people will gaslight you, or they might even say, but as a professional, how you could do that? I am a human being first. I need to restore myself. I need to make my connections. I need to understand what is my purpose. And more importantly, I need to teach people that it's okay to not be okay.
Maureen, I'll tell you something, and and Jennifer, you'll identify with this too. So my brother's, I left the country 4 days after my brother's funeral, the memorial in Trinidad. And the single biggest concern I had, of course, is my dad, who, in effect, that memorial was also the interment of my mother's cremains and my brother. So his wife and his only son were going also. And he kept referring to me in the last few days as, you're my Rock of Gibraltar, you're my Rock of Gibraltar. And I sat him down, and he's watching the show, so it's okay. I sat him down and I said, I am no one's Rock of Gibraltar. Stop calling me that. The rock has cracked, it's fallen into the sea, and I have to go and rebuild it. I am not your rock. You are fine. Now, someone watching me doing that, a 90-year-old man in a retirement home who lost his wife 7 months ago and now losing his son will probably think I'm crazy. But in being firmly honest, firmly and lovingly honest with my father, he just stopped. He looked at me and he said, you know, Terry-Ann, it's true. You really need to take care of yourself, because I need you. So please stay as long as you want to. I will be fine. I am happy here. I am good here. And a lot of people wouldn't be that honest with them. And my sons kept asking, so where exactly are you going and for what? Because I think they were accustomed to me going on specific trips for specific intents. I'm going on this trip. I'm going on this tour. But here she is just flying off on a plane. And what exactly is she going to do? What is this rest thing? You have a bed home. We are here. We love you. We could take care of you. And I think, and I'll ask you this. People may look at it as selfishness, as a rebound, as craziness, or whatever. But I think a lot of us get caught up in being that dependent, so or the one to go to, or we feel guilty about just plainly taking care of ourselves. But we can't tell our loved ones, you all can stand on your own 2 feet for a while. I need to go and find my own.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us don't do that. What's your
You know,
comment?
it's interesting about what you said, Terry. And to imagine your father to giving you permission. Notice in the dialogue.
Well, I prefer to
Has,
rephrase that, Maureen. He accepted it. He didn't give me permission.
right.
I was going. If he
Right.
fall down, beaten up on the floor, I was walking out.
Right. But within again, it's how we were raised, right? And certainly
Yeah.
you have to beat people. It sounds, I mean, that's not what you're doing, but we're talking to a general audience here, and I say sometimes there are people who have to beat people into submission for them to realize, even though we speak in the same language, but remember that words mean different things to different people. And because we are at different juncture in our lives, where you could emancipate yourself and say, well, listen, I make my decision, I'm going. That may not be true for him, right? And so we also have to be respectful of the fact that, listen, it's not like I'm giving you abandonment issues, because there are some people who are accustomed to being abandoned. They have some people who throughout their lives, people have said, I would return and I will take care of you and whatever. And instead, the way they looked at taking care was to sign a check or send a bowl of fruit or send some flowers or have somebody else go to check to make sure that you're still here and you're okay, because they always quote unquote busy. So it brings me to something that we need to always also be cognitive of, is that we need to be present. A lot of us are not present. We don't make eye contact. People will ask things like, how are you? And before you can answer, they disappear. Or you looking good? What the answer for you? You looking good? Think nice with you, man. Why asking you that? I think why asking me that? You understand? If you are present, and I always say to people, anytime you ask a question, be prepared to get an answer, and don't
stop and listen to the answer. Stop and listen. Wait for the answer.
Into a square that says I only have 2 minutes of my time, so make it short. I've heard people tell people that you ramble, that you tell me that already. Why are you telling me that again? So that is how a lot of us shut down. And a lot of us do not ask for help and do not engage in meaningful contributions or conversations. And a lot of us feel that people, they say they care, but they really don't care. But if you don't build those nurturing types of engagements and relationships and rapport, and also I feel that we have to, you raised it again too, which is a very good point, expectations. We expect that in a situation like this, our family should be the resource, our children should be the resource, our husband should, but half of them don't know how to deal with that anyway. So luckily, cognition rather than emotion clocked in, and you decided exactly where you think you would get your support forward from, but more importantly, look at what you recognize, that they also need you just as much as you need them. So it's a symbiotic, reciprocal type of relationship, and that could only be strengthening on everybody's platform.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win situation.
Maureen, I'd like to come in here, go back a bit to the grieving process. In many cases, and I say in many cases, where grief is concerned, to me, like the expectation or what we know, our culture, is like you almost have to be a martyr. You have to show suffering. You have to go all out, not to make yourself happy, not to do not to seek the help to get back and to be able to deal with the situation. How for those who feel that way, what would you recommend? What can you do? Because you feel pressured, you feel guilty. Like if you're going too happy, like if you jump on a plane like Terry Ann and go, you say, oh, she happy.
I'm looking too happy.
For someone, those who listening, how do you deal with that feeling if you are that person?
Right. Well, one of the first things you have to do is allow yourself to be vulnerable. If you have to cry, cry. If you have to ask for an excuse and say, listen, I can't make this today, fine. If you need to speak to somebody, then you need to speak to who you need to speak to. You don't have to go to other people to get permission, nor do you have to look at how others manage their grief, because people manage their grief differently, right?
Yeah.
People manage grief differently, because I know, for example, especially in the aged, you will find that people, and males, predominantly males, and the statistics show it as well. They don't know about aloneness, and I'm not talking about loneliness. I'm talking about aloneness. Somebody to cook, clean, communicate, converse, take them where they need to go, pay their bills, whatever. So they usually size up somebody in their circle or in the church or in the social group or whatever who very much like their spouse. And next thing you know, they marry. Now the children very upset about that. They're saying, but were you trying to share our inheritance? Or you disrespectful to my mother? 6 months, my mother now go on and whatever. But what about the person who is living? He continues to live, he or she, because it happens on both sides of the spectrum. And if they need that kind of support, and you all have your life and you all already going on and whatever, why they must just sit there and wither away and be dead before they actually die, right? The other thing too is that a lot of us have to get into our authentic self. Who are you? How do you feel? We don't, I tell you, we spend more time out of our body, having outer body experiences that within ourselves, and nurturing and healing and supporting. If you ask a lot of people, like, what do you need? A lot of them don't have a response. They will hear things like, I've lived my life already. God has been good to me. My children want that already. They know they have nothing to fight about because
Maureen, you're so correct. Wow.
But we're not talking that. I'm not asking you that. I don't want what you have. I'm not asking you. I'm asking you, what are your needs? You know, what's happening with you? What's going on with you? You don't hear things like, you know, I could do it a little tea party. You know, I feel that we could go in the mall and just walk around because I haven't had an exercise in a long time. I ain't stretched my legs. When you come and bring some soil, we could sit down outside and pot behind them plants. They look like they're starving, but you know, because of the security now, I don't want to be outside alone. You know, the first thing that people do, run and put in cameras for you. So that, right, well, you're not alone. Look, I watching you.
Yeah.
You know, so people, we have to get our authentic self and be very clear, because one of these things too is that young people, and we learn to listen as we grow. So I am not against them, and I'm certainly not saying that there's anything wrong with them. That's their stage of life. There's their journey. A lot of us, we're long-winded because we think people don't pay attention and they really don't care. So the minute you get anybody who would listen to you, you haven't noticed that we don't know how to end a conversation. We know we want to finish. We know we have something else to do. We know we want to leave, but you're hanging on because somebody actually
listening.
wants you today. And you're talking from one thing to, you know that, Jen? I call you and I'm talking from one thing to the next thing to the other thing. Because it really, I don't have that network. Or even if I have the network, I don't have the trust. And even if I do have the trust, I don't want to be vulnerable because I don't want them to know I want to go to somebody who I've built that relationship and rapport. Well, we need to take risks. As you grow older too, you have to take risks because you know about failure. You know about disappointment. You know about deceit. Yeah, but at the same time, if your spirit leads you to have a conversation with somebody, always remember that a lot of that reaching out is not only for you. Sometimes you will hear people say, boy, God sent you for me today, yes, because where I was, I didn't think I could live through today or live through this experience. It's really good to hear you. And you call them for something you wanted them. You know, the other thing too is that you have to be pleasant. I find that as you age, you're always looking like your face set up and like you're saying you want people to be around you, but you're not making yourself as somebody that people would want to be around. Because from the time you appear, problems coming with you. Why? You could actually smile and you know, yeah, we have spaces in our teeth, whatever. Nobody watching that. You bring a ray of sunshine, a ray of hope, and you just start creating that environment that you need, but also that you can share with others. Because I think for a lot of us too, we don't realize that we nurturing the universe. And a lot of the people you touch, you may just never see them again, but you would leave something with them that they would be able to sow into other people, and certainly grow. I've seen a lot of, for example, my students, they're far more academic than I are. They're in key positions. And, I would meet them and they would say things like, Miss, I tell him my grandchildren, because I would have taught generations of people after grandchildren. I tell him my grandchildren, some of the things you told me, and that's mindful. It's meaningful, but it also makes you realize that your living wasn't in vain, and it's not over yet. So for a lot of us too, we have to move away from it's over and continue on this journey, open this space, not me now. I don't know, I can't make that again. I mean, you can't make that again. Have you tried? Not me now. I seen all my friends dying, and I need to prepare for that, I have friends who, and okay, that's good for them. They have already gone to whichever home and made their arrangements and pack up the clothes and tell you which side to put them on. Hell flicking, no, not me. Right? When that time comes, my son will have to do what he has to do, and if he don't know, he'll be guided accordingly. But for now, I'm living.
Yeah.
And I'm living abundantly, and I'm living in faith, living with hope, not like despair. And I think for a lot of us too, that crippling feeling of loss, rather than continuing to sow into yourself. So you can't do it the way you did it before, but you could still do, right?
Maureen,
yes,
Maureen, I think that, that so resonates with my view of life. Because I think that giving up is a warm, fuzzy, people think it's a warm, fuzzy blanket, but it is really a dark, hot, moldy tomb. And it is so frightening for people to open the door, step outside, and go into the sunshine and live. And recognize that you have been, whatever you've lost, it is a job, it is a best friend, a spouse, a child, whatever it is. Okay, that thing has been taken from you, but you remain. You are still here to go on. And I think it is so comfortable and easy for people to make the excuse to, I shouldn't say make the excuse, I might sound callous, to just avoid and say no, and oh gosh, and when there is more living to be done, and you don't have to jump up and do cartwheels, as you say, go outside and fix the plant. That's what Jan. Do some pottery. Yeah. Reach out to a friend, even someone who the neighbor. I always say, why is that choice to shrink back into darkness and mold? I call it mold because it is a suffocating place for me, rather than to step out into the sun and breathe and get oxygen. Why is it so comfortable to go there for so many?
Because the way we were socialized was to take care of everybody else and not take care of ourselves. From small, a lot of
but
us.
But it's not either or. You could do the two. Or is it that we not?
Nobody told us that. Nobody gave us permission to do that. Yeah. And even as we grow older, we still have responsibility for our children and our grandchildren, and in some instances, great-grandchildren. But I always say that responsibility is by choice. But some people feel that that is their purpose in life. That is just what they put here to do. And that's how they will be remembered. You have to choose you over all else. And that is not selfish, it's selfless. Because everybody running their own race. We all run our own race. And let us take what you are just saying there, Terry, and to even a minute, a microscopic level. You're talking about loss. But loss of mobility is a big issue for people our age. And we talk about, if you don't use it, you lose it. We know that, right? So well, I'm not in the category of the exercise, and I should be, because I'm told every time by the physiotherapist, by the doctor, by everybody, my son, everybody, right? But the thing about it is that, what triggered for me to be able to start doing that and to watch what I eat and to certainly improve the quality of my life, not the length, but the quality of my life, was the fact that I love to cruise. And when I look at on cruise ships, I see people with motorized scooters.
Walker and cane.
Walker. Hello, you're not missing out on nothing.
Nothing. Mm-hmm.
So I tell myself, wait, so I didn't come here to sit. So I may not be able to do all the excursions or whatever, but I am able to walk the port. It might take me an hour. So I tell the young people, all you go ahead. I call it myself, I am getting there. But that has to be a conscious decision of you. So I'm hoping today, even in this conversation, that people prioritize themselves and make these little steps, because people are looking for milestones. I'm not looking for no milestone. I'm looking for incremental changes in the quality of my life so that I am able to enjoy whatever I do and enjoy it to the fullest. So, for example, too, you talk about that. I am diabetic, so I would need a scoop of ice cream. But there are times when I can have some, and I enjoy it thoroughly. It is not like I say, "Oh God, boy, I'm really missing this." So I have to buy a whole. Because I'm savoring the moment, and in those times I don't want to be talking to me and telling me thing and watch this and that. Listen, I sit down with thing, I sit here, I have my little tea and whatever, and my little sliver of cake. But you have to make that conscious decision for yourself, and you don't need a whole set of people, and you don't need it. You just need yourself. You need to give yourself permission. You need to validate your existence. You need to live within your limits, because that's another thing too. I did all that before and I had a great time. That is probably what took me to where I am today. And I don't deny that for a moment. But this is where I'm placed now, but it doesn't mean that life has stopped. It's just that I'm doing life differently, and I'm not asking anybody permission. I don't want anybody validate. I don't want nobody mirror me, because that's another thing I tell people. I never ever wanted to be a role model for anybody, because I make too many mistakes in this life. I prefer to mentor people where I share the things that have worked for me, and I share structure and strategy as to how they would have worked. And if you would like to take a page out of my book and try to modify that and make it even better than I did, then I've done my job and I'm content with that.
Maureen, listening to you there, and well, Terry-Ann and I, Connections 50 Plus, as you know, Maureen, was created for that reason, to help persons going into a different stage. And we keep saying it, and we have professionals like yourself who come and repeat it, that we create our own stage. This is our stage. It's nobody else's stage. You don't have to look at your mother or your aunt or whoever, or uncle, whoever went before to say, I want to be like them. Everybody is different. And if we just keep accepting that and know what we want and remove this age barrier we have, as you say, because you feel you can't walk or you don't want to use a wheelchair, or you could do what you want within, your sphere. You enjoy yourself. But again, as you said, many of us have this thing about we sit back and we can't, and we complain, and we only look at the negatives. As you said, as you get up, instead of saying, thank you, Lord, I'm alive, and what am I doing today? You're saying, oh gosh, my back, all parts of me hurting me. I can't get off of this bed. And that is what you said, that change in mindset. I am really very passionate, hoping more people, as they listen and as they listen to professionals like yourself and we ourselves share our experiences, that, hey, this is a great time to be alive. Thank God. You you can do so much. Maureen, I want to get into, I know you have a lot of different aspects under the emotional wellness, but something again that came up only this morning, again, watching the television, and I know is an aspect of emotional wellness that people don't like to listen to, even talk about. But that is that mental health. I heard the ministry put out some statistics. And in the statistics, I was very surprised to learn that the rate of suicide is highest among the older people. Maureen, was like, wow. And then this morning, again, there's a campaign going on awareness. And in listening, and one of the speakers was, she's talking about how the elderly, people get depressed. And I must say, we don't like to use the word elderly, but listen, if you don't want to think you're elder, you're over 50, I believe we should be aware of the triggers. We tend to dismiss or don't face it. I really believe we should be aware of triggers to help ourselves and our friends. I just want you to speak a bit about that.
Right. Well, one of the first things is the lack of mobility and the social engagement and interaction. And I say that at our age, if we want to maintain our mental health, you better be maintaining and I say a social group, but it does not mean that it is some kind of big posse, right? But you must have some. Well, see, Terry, and I have two good friends. I have two good friends too, and that social group cannot be your family members. I don't know why people always say, well, I come from a big family. That's what they are. They're an extension too, but they have a lot of needs and they already have you in a particular perspective or position. And so that's what you're there for. Anytime something happens, call Syria. Anytime they need a substitute, call Jennifer. She by herself. What do you mean she by herself? How you know she by herself? Jennifer could have had something that she wanted to do today and that kind of thing. So you keep it moving, right? But Jennifer's not going to say that. Jennifer is going to drop everything that she's doing and appear as if she wasn't doing anything. I was just sitting down here waiting on you to call. And so there you go. Your whole day and you're knackered and you're miserable and you're unhappy. And nobody, while people say thank you, they thank you for easing their stress, not thank you for being you or thank you for being present, right?
Pull your rock up, Gibraltar.
Correct, yes. But you set it up that way.
Take a wrecking ball and dig down the rock, yes?
Right, exactly. So, and look what it took for you to recognize that, hey, no more. Let's change the script, right? Let's change the script. So one of the first things is mobility and certainly social engagement and interaction. The other thing is finance. It is no easy feat to live on a fixed income. And you, Jennifer, know that better than anybody else when you have spoken to me for the hundreds of years about divesting and investing and ensuring that you put something for the days when you would not be able to work as hard as you used to do and whatever. But most of us would have used those resources for our children, our parents, our siblings. We use them. That's the reality of our territory. Yeah. So now you will find that because we are on a limited resource, what also impacts that is our ability to seek medical help. There are a lot of people who delay the onset of diagnosis because of finances. Because even if you go to the public institution and they say, let's say you have to go to Dr. X to do this test, that test, and you ask what the test costs, and the test is $1,500, $2,000, and you have no insurance, and your children in a position worse off than you, because half the time they'll be waiting on your pension to be able to substitute, because who had to do ballet, who had to do karate, who had to do swimming, and go ask Granny, right? And Granny again validating, right? Granny say, well, okay, sure. But Granny not recognizing that a time will come when, I am going to be in need. So that also puts you in a position when you recognize that all of your resources have been depleted. And I can tell you, my father did exactly that. when he recognized that, look, he was really reliant on me, total, and I had a whole set of other things. You know what he told me that day? I would not forget to take care of your mother. And in 2 days after that, he was gone. Make sure you take care, right? And the other thing too is that building that kind of repertoire within yourself, that you can do this, right? Because a lot of us, the way the societal norms and values are designed, it's designed in such a way that after a certain age, you see that word called retirement? I hate it. Because what people do is not only retire from a job, they retire from life. And all of a sudden, they sit back and watch everybody else live. And they say, well, I retired. And people say, you know, well, you should be happy. You don't have a job to go to. But who said that my life was only designed around a job? I should have been, in the days when I had a job, be doing other things, so that now that I no longer have to go to that specific place, I have other places to go, people to see, things to do. Other thing too that impacts us as well is the fact that a lot of our support network is dying and leaving us, right? Because we all have people in certain quadrants for certain reasons. Your head hurts you run to your mother. You run short of your money, you run to your father. You know, we have those resources, Tanti, Auntie, Nenen. Then we have, some of us are even burying our friends. In the past 3 years, the number of friends that I have buried, I was beginning to get a little worried. I was worried from the point of view that when I look at these young people, if there's nobody to sow into them, when it's their turn to take care of me, what the hell gonna happen here? Well, you know what? I say I live in all that, outliving all that. I have none of that. I keep in my mental health, I keep in my faculty, I keep in my money and all, because I find they like to count your money for you and tell you, I find they spend a lot of time on Amazon. I hear my son tell me that all the time. He said, them bills, that a box come here for you today. I said, Anne, but everything is Amazon. Get off your bed. Go and take some exercise. Do something. Because I find you, oh, how you mean you find I spending? But a lot of that is because we have to rely and trust somebody. And you're also teaching your children, and when their turn come as well, how they are going to take care of themselves and their children and their families. So you don't only learn by what you say, you learn by what you do. So for a lot of us as well, we don't have that in our head, that, look, we have to continue to design a kind of instrument that will work for us at this life. When all those walls close in, Jen, the only escape that you see is to call it quits. Because you see yourself as a nuisance, you see yourself as a problem, you are not able to form part of the solution, you are no longer the person that everybody relies on, you never built anything for yourself that you could rely on you until your demise. So then you hasten your demise, you start to give away your things, you start to not take care of your physical and mental health, you start to isolate yourself from other people, your hygiene runs into problems. So of course, if your hygiene runs into problems, your physical health also will run into problems. Sometimes you even stop answering your phone, you stop going to church, you stop socializing. And so that when you see those things in anybody, you have to pull the plug on them and say, no, I'm here, I'm present, I'm listening, no, you're going, and you have to call them on it. Yeah, we tend to give people solutions. I don't give you a solution. I telling you, look, I see in all these things, what's the problem? And if this is, you say this is your problem, then what kind of support do you need to be able to get you out of that? Because you have to do the work. That's the other thing too. I think that for a lot of us, we don't realize that even though you may not have a job to go to in terms of economics and finance, you are now your own job. And my project, right? So I have to invest in me and point to me and do the things I need to do for me, with help and support, of course, when I ask for it. But if I don't ask for it, don't come and offer it.
Yeah. Maureen, Can I ask a question? And this may be very triggering, and it may be asking you to go on touchy grounds. Because I think we know those symptoms. We know those symptoms and we can identify it. And we are excellent at diagnosing other people.
Yeah.
And still not going under the scab. So I want to ask you from your clinical practice and to expose the thing that is in us, that source of that pain. What are some of the things that allow us to be good diagnoses of other people's problems and other people's pain? Because we often make the joke, with Jennifer, we have spent 30, 40 years running offices, doing things, raising children, and we know how to fix things. But there's that something that avoids us. Put your hand in the wound and say, what are some of the things in us that cause us to want to just not?
Yes. I think one of the things for us is grief and loss, and also the lack of self-love. Nobody ever told us, or very few of us were ever told that we are worthy. We fought tooth and nail to be what other people designed us to be, right? So, and people will say, well, what do you mean by that? So in a family where there's no doctor, you are the bright one. Everybody from the time you're small started to tell you, you're going to be the doctor. But you know, something in you says, but you know, I always wanted to be an artist. But you never tell anybody that. You don't want to make your mother shame, your grandmother. Everybody think the thing, you bright, you talented. And so you spend your life proving everybody else right. And you get to a stage where everybody else gone. Or it don't matter anymore to anybody else. And more importantly, and not only that, you do it to your children too. Because we do that to our children as well. Right? Your child might come and say, listen to me, I want to be a dancer. That don't make no money. I don't invest all my money. And you're like, I spend so much time. What foolishness is that? Where you going with that? That's not a career. Right? So of course, what was done to you, by extension, you do it to them, but it's fair. We don't live by faith. We live in fear. And unless you stop looking back, what went. Back is only to help you to know where you are in the present. Every day of your life is a present. And once you're in the present, you can design a different future if it is allowed. And it's only God who will allow. That trigger says, every day I beg him, I say, I'm not ready yet. If you're ready, that's your business. Go and take somebody else. But I still have X to do, Y to do. And he know already. I know I only say that to give myself blessed assurance because Jesus is mine. I know where I go, right? But when he was his laugh and say, you again, move on, right? Because you know what you know, right? But a lot of us don't have that self-assurance. We don't have that confidence. We don't have that belief. We don't know how to exercise self-love. We also are always validated by the people who are around us. So a lot of people who look, I have friends who will look in a mirror and say, I don't like what I look like. You had to be crazy. Who the hell are you gonna look like other than yourself? I don't get it. I don't get. I said, well, why you don't like what you look like? Because what you look like outside is how you feel inside. I don't see it when it comes to me, but I know I see it when you have so much confidence. I do not have any confidence. I am just as you are, but what I am doing is empowering myself to face whatever this journey prescribes, because I am not in control of the journey. So a lot of us have that deep-seated fear, anxiety. A lot of us have a sense of not being able to validate who we are in our existence. A lot of us never even thought that we would live to this age. Because I hear also people who say that I never thought I'd live to this age. And I ask the question,
Yes.
what age is that? Because sometimes you
You
ask me something
expect.
here already. I said, what the hell? How did I
They had
get
an audience with God.
Maureen,
don't
I
know.
want to cut in here. Something on my mind as you keep talking. And you mentioned it earlier, people who tend to give up. Long ago, you used to hear this saying, and the saying long ago when mommy thought they were much, of course, your parents get old. And they may talk about somebody and they say, oh, that person actually will themselves to death because they didn't feel the need to live anymore. And the way they carried on, they actually will themselves to death. Isn't that so? They just like given up?
Now that in psychology is called silent suicide. And it does
Okay.
exist. People stop eating and drinking.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what they were talking about. I mean, they didn't know this term, but that's what it's called. It's called silent suicide. And some people also engage in euthanasia. And there are countries in the world who allow you that self-assisted death because they say that you want to go with your dignity because you have different health challenges or nobody to take care of you and whatever. That, again, that is
Vanity.
right? People just don't want to shrivel up like prunes, and we're going to do it.
Vanity.
Right? Drop.
But when you go into deep depression, depression leads to that type of thinking.
Yes, but the thing about it is that, and again, I want to say that, let us be clear, depression is a diagnosable illness.
Okay.
It's totally different. And I hear people say that I'm depressed. I said, no, you're in a mood, right? Because moods are things we could fix. I'm feeling so now. But if you tell me you're depressed, then I have to say, which psychiatrist did you speak with? And what are the medications? And what is the therapy that they have put you on to allow you to find the mind and mood balance? Because that's a hormone imbalance. And therefore something is clinically wrong. So anytime you use that, and that's why I stay away from that, because I'm not trained. I am not trained in that area to diagnose. I could recognize that people are experiencing anxiety. And I can recognize that people are in a mood, and I can recognize that people are isolating themselves. All these are triggers that says, look, this could go in a different direction, where you would then have to see a psychiatrist and be medicated or see a clinical psychologist and get the support that you need. But all of us have moods. Every day you wake up, you're not the same, but recognition is important. Breaking the cycle of denial. Now, there are days when you will, and I have felt it, that I feel I could stay in my bed all day. And I'm not staying there because I'm sad or depressed. I just have not yet figured out what I'm going to do with the day. And if it's rest and restoration and just wanting the quiet and silence of the day, then that's my choice. I've made that choice. But certainly in so doing, I tell a lot of people, I have a notebook next to my bed and I'll roll over and start a journal, or I will jot down some points. Nothing, no big set of nothing. And it might just be that I'm mapping out what I'm going to do tomorrow, please God, as I get out of my bed. But I know I'm going to get out, right? So I'm structuring how I am going to get out. But if it is, I have a friend who says, look, I've been in this bed for the past 3 days. And I say, well, what's wrong with you? You're sick? What is happening with you? Are you medically ill? Or I haven't heard from a person. And I call and say, Gil, I'm feeling so down. I've been in this bed for the past 3 days. I say, well, you better bathe and get up and present and shake up. Where we going? Well, a person for you. Right? Those are the kinds of things. A person for you, or a person to check you. Oh God, yeah, me, hey, get up and get. I like to drink XTYT, a person. Let me just, and sometimes we end up sitting there talking the whole day about nothing and everything. Right? But you have to, there's a way in which you have to ignite that kind of feeling in some people, because they can't, every day you can't light your own fire.
Maureen, what you just said, we need to ignite. That is so critical. And that, I believe, is that weak link within our, as we say, the 5.8G. Because we tend to, and I'm saying we, all of us, we tend to sit back and you mention it and give up. So what I'd like to tell our audience now is, you see that what Maureen said, we need to ignite. That's exactly what Connections is doing with our upcoming forum, which is 5.8G Reset. And of course, we didn't tell you before, and that's why we have Maureen as the guest with us today, because guess who going to be on this Reset program with us? Maureen, Joanne, Bowen. Could you imagine? So, Maureen, so we just chat a bit now about this upcoming forum and why you should really attend. And it is an online forum. Yes,
Right.
Maureen.
So I firmly believe there's much to be achieved in small group interaction. And especially, I like the way you all do forums because it's in a safe, confidential environment. But more importantly, too, you're all classy. You all always have something else to offer and some other spin. So a lot of people think that you just come into a normal sit down, hear somebody drone on and on like a professional like myself, and you ask one or two questions. No, for you, the way in which this is going to work, which is exciting, is the fact that people are going to meet new people. And part of what is happening in our journey at this point is, as I said, we bury in a lot of people that we know, so we can well add some new people to our repertoire. The other thing too is that you're going to be meeting new people who have different dreams, goals, visions, who probably would be excited about things that you are excited about, but you never had the opportunity to explore. And here's somebody who is of your age group and dispensation who is saying, well, look, I've done this, and this is how I've done this, or even that I'm doing this. Would you like to be an active participant in the things that we are being exposed to? The other thing too is that in these types of forums, the small group as well, you could build trust. And a lot of us through these small group interactions, we'll get the tools that would allow us to understand how we engage in an environment, how people see us, and certainly some of the things that we need to change or fix or even review in the way that we engage and interact, so we could make some long-term friendships. Now, I see are not relationships, but if you get a relationship out of it, I just make sure you invite me to the occasion, because I want to be there, because I want to operate as if, well, yeah, I orchestrate that, I light that fire, right? So it's an opportunity to actually pour into your own cup, and it's something that I think I can't stress it enough. We need to give ourselves quality time. Most people are looking at what it will cost. I'm looking at what you will gain as a result of having the experience. To be able to get up and show up, even because in the comfort of your own home, which again is a great opportunity, but at the same time, you are no longer distracted. You have to move away from I hear the machine, I hear the gardener. Don't call me, don't call Granny. Granny locked away doing something for her, nurturing herself. And I think giving yourself that time would certainly show you how important it is. And then moving away from that, you know what, once a week you may say to everybody, no, I need to have quality time. And you do something else with your time. And that's a learning. So there will be a lot of opportunities for learning, for sharing, for embracing new skills. Also, for a lot of people too, it might very well be that it's an opportunity for you to engage outside of this group. Because you can take now to your other groups. I went to this thing and the experience I got was tremendous. And the kinds of learnings, I think that the next time this is offered, some of you should come along and that kind of thing. And you can actually sell it, because I always say that we as professionals, we think that we put our best foot forward. And in a lot of instances we do, but we don't understand the temperature in the room, and we don't cater. We think we know. Whenever I do anything, I always operate from the premise that I don't know anything. You tell me what you need, and therefore I will service you in that direction, right? So it's not a question of a feather in my cap, a trophy for you all. It's a learning for all of us, and certainly it's an opportunity for us to get together and to join our resources, because that's another thing too. There's a lot of indirect conversation, and I always say that that's the reason I like small groups as well, because You start with one agenda, and then based on the conversations and the things that people raise, you will find that you're getting additional material for future sessions, as well as your understanding, look, this worked, this didn't work, why it worked, why it didn't work, and then you also get a sense of the needs of your audience. So moving forward, while you would have put your best foot forward, and we all do, we get better at the engagement process, because people need to learn how to re-engage. The conversation is very different at our age. And these groups give us the opportunity to test the waters, to re-engage, to rejuvenate our souls, and certainly to share with others the need for them to get on board as well and to participate actively. Because a lot of us are passive participants. I just love human beings. They're not doing anything for themselves, but you do it and everybody could critique it. But nobody would start, and that's what this group does. This group allows for us for you to do your own sketch, right? And we're gonna give you tips and give you the support and send you in the direction of the areas that you need to help to build whatever you choose to build. That's how we ignite or reignite that fire in you, and then the sky's the limit. You go and pass it on to the next and the next and the next, and great, we would have done our job.
And so, Maureen, that will be an exciting forum. And folks, remember, we had changed the date. So the new date is on Friday, the 21st of July. It's online. It's from 5 to 8 p.m. and the cost is only $200. So yes,
TT.
and that's TT. So we're open, and it's very, very simple. You just give us a call and we register you. And we send you the bank information to pay online. And basically that's it. Yes, Terian.
So, Maureen, we want to thank you so sincerely for this is a great welcome back for me. And I want 5.8G crew. I mean, we're such a cool group. We understand thoroughly, and you enjoyed your repeat with Lorraine Patience last week. We are back on track, and we continue to take care of ourselves. So, everyone, we will see you next week again on 5.8G Alive, and definitely for those who are ready to open the door and go into the sunlight. See you on July 21st with Maureen Bowen. So have a great, great, great rest of your week. Bye.
50+ Tribe, and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50+ 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.